Welcome to the WriterDojo with your host, Steve Diamond.
Put me in, coach.
And Larry Correa.
They pull a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way.
Today's episode, Pep Talk.
All right, everybody, welcome to the WriterDojo. Glad to have you all back with us today. All right, Larry, so I was in the Facebook group, which if you listeners didn't know, we do have a Facebook group. You just have to answer some really basic questions to get in.
And then just be a decent human being.
Yeah,
once you're in
serious.
there, our rules are pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, we don't like drama.
Yeah, if you guys want to say controversial stuff, go ahead. I ain't going to come save you, though. So you all, if you say controversial stuff, it's on you. Go ahead and defend it.
Yeah, it's a dog-eat-dog world in there. But there's this one post in the Facebook group, Larry, that I liked. And it was a little bit of a downer post, actually.
I felt the same way, but I thought it was something we needed. This brings up some really important stuff for us to address.
Okay. So this is from Brad, and he says, I think he's a little bit of a newer member. I might be wrong on that. Sorry, Brad, if I'm wrong. But he says, I might need a quick pep talk or skin made of thicker stuff. Just finished my first short story, and my first and most respected beta reader pointed out so many things. I'm wondering how I missed this, that, and the other thing. And what, let's see, how does he, basically, show, don't tell. I use the same word 3 times on the same page, et cetera, et cetera. Then he ends with, is it pretty normal to have so many blind spots, or am I fooling myself about this writing thing? That last sentence really struck a chord with me, Larry.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think, at least I know I have, and I'm pretty sure you have as well. We both felt that way.
Absolutely.
And so what we're going to do, Brad, and this is to all of our WriterDojo folk out there. There's so many of you who are new, who are just getting into this. There's some of you who are well established, and maybe you're going through a rough patch, and maybe you just need to hear some rah-rah, it's all good.
I'm going to put my Ted Lasso hat on.
That's right. We're going to put our Ted Lasso hats on.
I'm going to be optimistic.
Are you going to be Ted Lasso, or are you going to be Beard?
I'm more of the angry British guy.
Oh, you're Roy Kent.
Yeah. I don't know if I could talk like this for the whole episode, though.
Yeah. So here's what this is, guys. We're going to do a little pep talk for you, because and I think all authors have gone through this, where you feel like, regardless of where you're at in your career, you ask yourself that last question: am I fooling myself about this writing thing? Hell, dude, I mean, I've asked myself that same question all the time.
Yeah. So, Brad, it's you got to look at it like this. This is a hard business, and even for guys who've been doing this a long time, it's still a hard business.
Yeah.
If what we did was easy, everybody could do it. But it's not. And it's one of those businesses that a lot of people try and fail, and there's no shame in that.
Yeah.
Because it is a challenge.
It's okay to fail. I say that a lot on this show.
We've talked about that on the show, because failure is how you learn.
But, and I brought this up in, I believe it was in our first Lessons from the Gun Range episode.
Which is a good one.
Which is a very good episode. And I think that some of the stuff that we say in there is something that you might need to hear, Brad, and for a lot of you out there. But one of the things I said is it's okay to fail, but it's not okay to beat yourself up about it.
Yeah. When you fail, learn your lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You can either like fail and wallow in that failure and say, I'm a failure, or you can say, this is what I did at this moment in time. What can I learn from it?
Be a goldfish.
Go forward.
To further our Ted Lasso.
Believe.
Be a goldfish.
Yeah. I played darts.
Yeah. Be curious, but not judgmental.
I've only actually watched clips of that show. I've never actually watched the show.
That show's freaking awesome.
I've only watched clips, though. That's hence me knowing who the angry British guy was. So, Brad, don't beat yourself up, because we all suck. Yeah. Every one of us has screwed up. So, like, talking about, so you had one beta reader pointed out a whole bunch of screw-ups. You know what, dude? That's totally fine. I wrote my first novel. I screwed up so many things, and I sent it off to so many beta readers. I mean, I didn't know that when you wrote a sentence, and I've talked about this on the show before, when you write a sentence of dialogue and you address somebody's name at the end, that you would put a comma before their name.
Yeah.
So like, I'm talking to you, Steve, or I'm talking to you, comma, Steve. I didn't know that. I went the entire book and never put that in. And Monster Hunter International, my first novel, I didn't know that was a rule of grammar.
You didn't know you were supposed to use contractions.
I thought you weren't supposed to use contractions.
Yeah.
I thought contractions were bad. I thought I'd get in trouble for using contractions. Okay, that was my extent of knowledge, right? I read a lot, but I never really noticed that. And I actually had one of my beta readers ask me, was like, "Hey, is that a stylistic choice that you choose not to do that rule of grammar?" And I was like, "What rule of grammar?" Dude, I had an accounting degree. I didn't know that was a thing. But you know what, though? It was actually a pretty good story. Mm-hmm. And I fixed that. I changed that. But the thing is was it a good story? That's what matters.
Yeah.
So you can screw up all sorts of things. Like, okay, so you use the same word 3 times.
Oh my gosh, dude. This is, we've read for each other.
Oh yeah.
And we point that out with each other every single time.
Every human being does that. Three times on one page is not even that much.
No. Try 3 times in one sentence. I've done that.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 times in a paragraph is what I'm trying to avoid. And as we talk about, like when I wrote Dead Six with Mike Cooper, dang it, there are some words that just don't have a lot of synonyms. Like there aren't a lot of synonyms for explode. And when we're writing a book full of bombs exploding and guns going off and stuff crashing, by golly, the word explode's gonna get used more than 3 times on a page.
Yeah.
So repetitive word use is one of those things that you watch for and one of those things you prepare for and try to avoid. And that's why I think English is such a wonderful language. I mean, we joke about how English is a mangled bastard tongue of like some French and Latin, and let's grab some Spanish and let's grab some German and let's cram it all in there. You know, but honestly, that also is great because then we have so many synonyms, each one with a slightly different flavor for tuning. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's just a tool in the toolbox, man. And so don't fret too much about that. We all do that.
We all do. And I think the thing here to realize is that at different stages in your writing development, different things are going to be issues for you. In the beginning, maybe that whole show don't tell thing is really hard for you to distinguish if you're doing it. Are you just dumping a bunch of exposition, or are you painting a picture for your audience?
Well, and sometimes, as we talk about in this episode specifically about that topic, sometimes not bad.
That's okay.
Sometimes it's fine. It's one of those rules that people trot out, show, don't tell. Sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't hurt.
I remember within the dojo group, there was someone saying, how do you get rid of passive voice? And how are you getting rid of all of your to be verbs and stuff like that? Oh man,
we had a whole episode on that.
And I remember, I think it was Howard, our buddy Howard Jones, was like, well, I don't get rid of all those. He said, first of all, I just read it out loud. If it sounds good, it's good. If it doesn't sound good, I got to figure out why.
And Howard's brilliant.
Howard's freaking awesome.
He's a great writer.
And so if, like Chris Rocchia, right? Our buddy Chris, it's not like he gets rid of all of that stuff. I mean, he has instances of passive voice within his story. It's all a matter of how does it sound in the context of that point?
If Rocchio has it in there, it's probably on purpose.
Very likely.
Because it's evoking some sort of visceral response to his insanely good wordsmithing.
And then there's a guy like me, right? I sit down, I write out I'll write out my paragraph. And as I'm reading through it, I'm looking at it and I'm going, does this sound okay? Like to the ear?
Yeah.
If it sounds okay to the ear, I don't care what's in it.
Yeah.
I just don't care. Oh, in RPG, in role-playing game terms, the phrase we always use in our games is rule of cool.
Rule of cool.
If it's cool, it stays. If it's not, it's gone.
I am a rule of cool GM, man. That's why I always die laughing at like the internet where people get all like adamant, like you must do this, you must do this. It's like, dude, your group must be super boring.
Yeah.
Because my group is like, it's more awesome if we do this. So like, let's go be awesome. You know?
Oh gosh, in our last
That's how I
game,
write books too, though.
in our last game that we had together, one of our buddies is running it, Pat Tracy, who's a phenomenal writer.
Great writer.
And we ended up basically pausing the game because it's like Neolithic era gaming. And we're having this argument in character about if the world is flat and like how it goes through. Like, guys, rule of cool.
My character is a priest of Envubu, the hippo-headed god of death. And so I was super adamant that the world is flat. And I was like, it was like a religious dogma thing for me. And I would die on this hill arguing over the flat earth. Right. Yeah.
But like, if it was all about, a very specific rule and function, we wouldn't have had that. We wouldn't have done that it was like 10 minutes in the game. But you know what? We were all just laughing about it. We were having a good time. Why? Because it was entertaining. We were entertained.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, that's kind of the only rule, right? Besides pay your taxes. So when you're looking at this, there are so many things. Yeah, look, maybe in the beginning, that's what you're focusing on. Maybe it's some of the other stuff we've talked about, like, the structure of your pages, like, having 7 paragraphs in a row that are all 10 sentences long, like breaking it up, or always having a said so-and-so or so-and-so said at the end of dialogue tags.
Yeah.
Like all of these things, you're going to learn how to deal with all these as you progress.
Yeah, you can't do everything all at once.
Yeah.
You just do a couple things. And so, like, Brad's listing off the problems with his story as spotted by someone who I am assuming is fairly knowledgeable. That's actually not that bad.
No.
So what do you got? 3-4 problems? You know what, man, there's a million potential problems.
Well, okay.
If you only got 3, that's not bad.
Okay. Well, you and I are going to do an episode on this later, talking about like rewriting our first books.
Yeah.
Because I did it and you're doing it.
Yep.
And it's not like our first books in their published forms originally were bad. In fact, they're quite good. Monster Hunter's pretty dang good.
Yeah, for a first novel, it's excellent.
Residue's pretty good for a first novel.
Yeah, for a first novel, it's great.
Yeah. But going back through it, especially, this is 10 years later, whatever it is, 15 years later for you, whatever it is.
You learned a lot.
And, where I initially thought, oh, I'll just do a quick pass through and fix things. No. I knew I was in trouble the first paragraph where I'd made changes in literally every sentence in the first paragraph. I'm like, oh crap. That's because there were things then I was so close to it then.
Yep.
And that causes a certain amount of like storytelling blindness.
Absolutely. That's why, if humanly possible, I like to take a break between finishing the manuscript and going back to edit it.
Yeah.
I'll go write a short story, usually is what I do.
I do the same thing.
Because that gives me just enough distance to come back with fresh eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So totally normal. When you finish a book, you're not the same person as when you started it, because it takes a while.
Yeah. Unless you're Rick Partlow.
The beast.
Freaking machine.
He's the machine.
Rick.
The machine.
Even then, we're good buddies with Rick. Rick is freaking awesome. Yeah, and we talk to him a lot, and he's, he talks about how much he learns, over the course of as time passes on his stories. You know what I mean? Like there are so many faults that we as authors have. There are so many perceived shortcomings within our fiction, within our process, within our storytelling. And yeah, look, it's really easy to focus on those because negativity is easier to point out than positivity. In fact, I think you were talking about this on Twitter the other day.
Yeah.
in terms of politics, though, I believe is what it was.
But negativity is easy.
Negativity sells really quick.
It sells quick. It's easy. It's an endorphin rush, but it takes way more work to be positive.
It really does.
It's more difficult to be positive.
Yeah.
And so being negative is the easy way out. And so a lot of people fall into that trap.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue on this. We're going to pump you guys up. Okay, we're going to give you some. We'll just keep on this topic. We'll be right back.
The history of art is the history of civilization itself. With the rise of computers, it wasn't long before humans began to explore using artificial intelligence, or AI, to generate artwork. Recent breakthroughs have resulted in millions of eager users now racing to create their own art with this new technology. The ability to make anything can be daunting for new users, though. An illustrated guide to AI prompt mastery is intended to serve as a handy reference guide for users, both new and more experienced. Using a unique and whimsical collection of cats, dogs, and other assorted animals, artist-author Jack Wilder, that's me, provides users with visual representations of different artists who can serve as inspiration for their own art. Artists interested in improving their ability with AI, fans of art history, or even just fans of cute animals wearing costumes will all find plenty of interesting artwork to peruse. An illustrated guide to AI prompt mastery is a valuable reference to this fascinating new field that is emerging and is helpful for all AI users, whether they are using Midjourney, DALL-E, Night Cafe, or Deep Dream Generator. An illustrated guide to AI prompt mastery is available now on Bain.com or Amazon. Pick up your copy today.
All right, everybody, welcome back to your April pep talk. Look, Larry, I want to go a little bit more into one of the things that we started to talk to at the very back half of that part of the episode, which is oftentimes as we're writing, we get too close to our product. We've read it 3,000 times. We've changed that sentence 75 times. And there comes a point where you just can't see it for what it is anymore.
Yeah.
You're way too close to it. And I think this is a problem with literally everyone.
All writers have this, and it's natural, it's normal, it's human, and you are human. We're artists, right? And we get so close to our art that we can't see mistakes, or we start to beat ourselves up because we see all the mistakes.
Yeah, that's
over and over and over again.
That's me.
And we dwell on them. And a lot of times we dwell on them a lot harder than the audience does.
Yeah. I mean, the audience doesn't care.
A lot of times the audience doesn't know it's a mistake.
Yeah.
To you, it's a mistake. To the audience, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a really, really long time. Well, honestly, by writer standards, I've been doing this for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And just today I was editing a chapter in Graveyard of Demons, and I went back and I looked. Talk about using the same word 3 times on the page. I used the same phrase, "what's done is done," twice in 2 paragraphs in a row. And I think that was one where I'll have this thing where I'll be reading something and I'll be like, and it's just like natural flow of conversation. I'm like, this word or this phrase needs to be in here. Mm-hmm. Well, only the thing is, I put that in the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have now put it in a second time because my brain thought of that a moment later. And that's just being too close. And so totally human, totally normal. And it doesn't make me a bad writer.
No.
It makes me human.
I mean, think about it this way, guys. If you subscribe to the notion that you need like alpha readers, okay, that's what they're there for. They're there to point out, like, hey, bro, you're too close. Check out what I saw right here. Just scrub this. You're cool.
Yeah, that's what editors are for. Editors are supposed to
editors.
Come in
my
with
goodness,
a detached view. They come in and like they're detached. They're not rolled up in the last 1,000 hours of creation that has blind spots.
Well, and also think about it this way. I know you do a lot of research.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of book that you're writing. I'm the same way.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. But within there, all the stuff that I'm reading, you know, like a tenth of that makes it onto the page, but that other 90% is still in my head.
Yep.
And it might just be that I thought I was being clear on the page, but maybe I'm not.
My gosh, there's so many times where I could have swore that I put a piece of information into the book and I did
It's just not there.
because that piece of information was in my brain.
Yeah. I've done that.
I thought I put it on the page.
Yeah.
And then somebody asked me, he's like, so who, so and so? And I'm like, well,
Like I mentioned it on that page. And they're like, no,
you didn't. Yeah.
No, you didn't.
You know, and the thing is too, okay, so I get the impression that Brad's fairly new at this, right? And
Sure.
about his first short story here. You know, dude, the more you do it, the better it's going to get. And a lot of stuff that's hard now, you'll take for granted in the future.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, so I'm a gun guy and I'm a shooter and I used to teach shooting and I was a competitive shooter and I'm pretty good at it. But if I get somebody who's new and I give them a gun and I'm telling them how to hit the target, if I start overloading them with too much information and like, okay, you know, you change your grip, change your thumb, move your thumb here, move your, no, move your hips. No, get your center of gravity. Like, no, relax your shoulders. No, relax your shoulders more. Okay, get your head up. Don't turtle. Don't get your chin up. Get your chin up. Okay, both eyes open. You see the dot. Does the dot in focus? Is the dot? No. Okay, don't time it. It's like just when the dot goes through where you want, that's when you pull the trigger. No, when you pull the trigger, you got to pull it straight back, smooth through. No. Don't jerk it. Don't jerk it. No. Get your thumb back. No, I told you, get your thumb back. Okay, are you see? Okay. There's 1,000 things. And when you're new, if I dump 1,000 things on you, your brain can only do 3 or 4 of them. And the other ones are going to get tossed to the wayside. But the thing is, the more you shoot, and after you've been doing this for years and years and years under pressure, it's just like, I just do all that stuff automatic, right? And guys that are good just do all that stuff on automatic, autopilot. If you're new to writing and you've listened to the last 100 episodes of WriterDojo and you're trying to do, 145-minute episodes worth of stuff, it's like me telling you 50,000 things to shoot.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. I mean,
you gotta have time to integrate it.
yeah. So everyone knows I like to build Gundam models.
Oh, dude, we're in Steve's office right now.
there's
There's like 100 of them.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch, and there's that many more unbuilt.
That new one looks really cool.
This one looks really
That
awesome.
looks rad.
Yeah. So, yeah, sorry guys, you can't see.
It does look rad.
One day we'll do show and tell. I remember one of the very first things that got me into building these models. One, I mean, obviously it was I just loved the shows. Okay. And I love giant robots. But also I stumbled when I was watching YouTube, I stumbled on some guy that had done this full custom paint job and everything on one of his kids. And I was looking at it, I'm like, holy F, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah. I want to do that.
I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So I started, I got some kits and I was building them and I'm looking at it and I started to get overwhelmed right away. Cause I'm like, oh crap. Like, well, he painted, but then he also had this thing where he could get off the nub marks really easy, but then he's scribing additional panel lines on these things. Like it was all of this stuff. And I finally just said, you know what? I'm just going to take my clippers, my nippers. I'm just going to cut it off the runners and build it. I'm just going to enjoy that aspect first. Then after that, it was, okay, I'm going to get some a little bit better tools. And I'm going to see if I can clean up the pieces where I'm detaching it from the runner. Okay. Then it was, okay, I'm going to take this ink and I'm going to panel line it. I'm going to dip ink into all the little panel lines that are within there just to make the pieces pop a little bit more. Oh, okay. And then next it's going to be, okay, well now I'm going to prime and paint some of these pieces. But that's over the course of years. It doesn't happen right away. Writing's the same way. If just focus on things like, how are you describing things? Or maybe it's even a bit more basic than that. It's, can you get your story on the page?
Yeah. We've had so many episodes about so many topics. And one of the things I've noticed from the Facebook page is different episodes matter to different people at different times, depending on what they are personally challenging themselves with or what they are personally struggling with.
Well, our boy Rick Cutler, one of the things he said to me that really struck a chord with me, Larry, was, I believe this was down at FenCon when you and I were there. But he came up and he was talking to me and he said, he's like, yeah, dude, I went back and re-listened to some of the earlier episodes. Now that I've done some writing, he's like, they hit way different now than they did when I first listened to it. And see, to me, that's really cool.
Because you're a different writer now than you were a year ago.
Absolutely.
And everything's going to have a different thing. It's kind of like, going back to the gun thing, it's like I've been doing this a long time, but I keep taking classes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I hear the same thing. Because, mankind, there's only so many ways you can, squeeze the trigger and hit a target, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just a different perspective of that thing I'm working on at that moment. Writing is the exact same thing.
Or even to take that a little bit further, who is saying it to you?
Yeah.
In that class, we had 3 very different individuals who were teaching us stuff in those classes. Yep. And they all said it in radically different ways.
They're telling you the same thing.
Literally the same thing.
Sometimes it doesn't sink in unless it's told you a certain way. And everybody's different. That's why there's no one true method of teaching. There's no one true method of advice because everybody learns different. There's people out there that you're going to learn to be a writer through like a strictly logical progression. Where it's like, I will do this, and then I will do this, and then I will do this, and then I will do this, and here the story is done. Right? That's great. Some people are wired that way.
Yeah, that's not me.
You guys, we're accountants. There's a lot of accountants that way. Mm-hmm. We've known a lot of fine accountants that way.
Yeah, most accountants can't actually look you in the eyes when they're talking to you.
Yeah.
We are not that guys, as it turns out.
No, actually, that's why I did okay. It's because I was the guy that could talk to people.
Exactly.
It's a true story. Yeah. It's also, this applies to engineers, too. I've worked a lot in engineers.
Yep.
But the thing is, other people are totally different, and it's going to be a more scattered approach. And it's going to be like, I am fixated on this thing right now. My family, all of my kids got this from me. Everybody in my family has a hyperfixation issue. Like all of us do. Whatever the thing is that we are currently caring about is the most important thing in the universe, and we will learn everything about this topic, and we'll talk about it till everyone around us is sick to death of this topic. But it's the most important thing, and everything else sucks, and I don't give a crap. Mm-hmm. So like my kids, they will have straight A's provided that is the topic.
Yeah,
they give a crap about.
Yeah, that's my kid as well.
Anything else, I don't care. So for me, like if I'm working on a writing thing, it's more like I have the story I want to tell. I am hyper fixated on telling this story. Everything else is ancillary to that. What do I need to do to tell this story? Okay, so in this case, I got to learn how to write third person. I'm going to explore that and get better at it because this is a third person story. This is something different. I'm going to fixate on that. It's one reason I like jumping genres too, because it helps me find a new thing to fixate on. That's why so this next book I'm doing after this one, I've been doing this epic fantasy series for 10 years. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah.
So, but this next one is a progression fantasy series.
It's fantasy, but it's a totally different flavor.
It's still fantasy, but it's not the big sweeping
world
change. No, this is one dude's journey.
Well, and honestly, and you and I have talked a little bit about this, and that's like you're going to have to go research little, like
lots
okay,
of stuff.
what are the things that readers enjoy within this type of fiction?
Exactly. And why am I doing that? It's because it's a different challenge.
Yeah,
it's a chance for me to grow. It's like people say, well, why don't you just write this
Monster Hunter all day, every day?
Because if I wanted to make money, purely if this is just for money, I'd make Monster Hunter. I would just do nothing but Monster Hunter. And when I wasn't doing Monster Hunter, I would do Monster Hunter spin-offs with other people.
Yeah.
Because Monster Hunter is bank. It's money.
It makes money.
It makes really good money. Everything else does okay. Mm-hmm. Well, Son of the Black Sword's catching up.
Son of the Black Sword's doing just fine.
It's doing fine. But Monster Hunter is bank. Monster Hunter makes cash. But the thing is, I don't grow as a writer if I do the same thing over and over again. That's another reason, too, all the Monster Hunter books have been different.
Well, look at...
they've all been different from the one before.
Oh, yeah, there's very different themes within them.
Yeah.
This is why you went, you went third person with
Alpha,
with Alpha, Nemesis,
Nemesis.
and so on.
And I bounce around. And the thing is, I do this to keep myself fresh into challenges, because even me, I've been doing this for 15 years, but I'll ask myself, am I really a writer? Is this a scam? Am I just like coasting? Am I actually good at this?
Dude, my last several months
Oh man,
have been garbage.
You've gotten your butt kicked.
Just freaking garbage. And have I asked myself during these months, should I even be doing this crap anymore?
Dude, our last episode of 2024, it was kind of depressing.
2023.
Or yeah, sorry. First episode of 2024 when we had our accountability for the previous year.
And we were like, bro, life sucks right now.
That year kicked us both in the nuts. I mean, it was a hard freaking year for both of us. And so, I mean, there were points during that. I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm a bestseller. I'm pretty damn successful. I have a writing podcast.
Yeah. We don't have a writing book though.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, I could if I wanted to. I've actually sold enough books that I know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, even I mean, I saw the thing. I'm not a Neil Gaiman fan, but I saw that thing with Neil Gaiman talking about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
If Neil Gaiman has imposter syndrome, so can you.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is clearly an extremely successful author.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, dude, you and I have had these private conversations where it's like, yo, this is really hard right now.
Oh, dude, there's been times over the last 15 years where I'm like, screw this crap. I'm going to go back and sell guns.
Oh,
I'm going to go back to selling guns.
Well, I mean, after I think my third publisher died on me with Residue.
Yeah.
Like, this, and I've been pretty open about this. I almost hung it up. I was like, F this.
That's some depressing crap.
Fortunately I had friends like you and stuff that were making sure they were talking me off the ledge, hypothetically.
Because that's one thing too about the alpha readers.
Speaking.
If you have friends, you'd be like, no, dude, you actually are talented.
Yeah.
If you have friends, I mean, sometimes you need someone to prop you up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you bad. Sometimes you need somebody to help you out.
And that's okay.
If you've got somebody who knows what they're talking about, they're not going to tell you you suck in every way, hang it up. Unless you really do. I mean, if all your alpha readers say, dude, this is just the worst thing I've ever read, you need, my eyes bled. Okay. But odds are you're not that.
No.
No,
I mean,
you ain't that guy.
No, you're not that guy.
You're not that guy. We've met that guy.
No, we've met that guy.
You're not that guy.
And it's not you. And when we say you, it's the royal you, all of you WriterDojo listeners. If
you guys are putting in the effort to learn, it's a learned skill. This is not something you're born to do.
I'm sure there are some people, just like athletes or whatever, that are just naturally good at this.
Okay, so talking about one of our gun friends, Chris. I won't drop his whole name, but Chris, the Special Forces guy.
Yeah, Special Forces medic.
So he was telling me one time of a story about sports psychology. Mm-hmm. And how, these guys are elite special operators kind of guys. This is this guy's background. He's done all sorts of crazy James Bond stuff.
He's done some crazy stuff.
That's his background. But they actually, at his level, they actually have professional sports people come in to help these guys with their conditioning. In this case, they had a dude who was a sports conditioning guy for an NFL team and an NBA team. And he came in and he was working with all these Green Berets. And he was helping them get physically fit. But at one point, he was talking to these guys about the power of mindset versus physicality. When we're talking about writers, we're not very physical, but I'll get to the point here in a second.
Yeah.
What he told Chris was, look, if I could take these guys, my NBA players, and he named some of the NBA players, and if I could get them to have you guys' brain with their body, they'd be the greatest athletes of all time. And he named off this one famous NBA guy. He goes, this guy, it takes everything in my power to get him to not eat 18 full-size candy bars a day.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's like, but he's so genetically gifted that it's like, here's the basketball, dunk it from half court, boom, done. Okay. Dude is a genetic monster. He has the body of a perfect athlete, but his brain is like, I'm going to coast.
Yeah.
I got the body. He's like, the Green Berets are mostly normal. I mean, they're way better than us writers physically.
Yeah.
But they're mostly normal humans physically, who have just worked really, really hard. It's the same thing to writing, guys, only without being buffed.
Right.
You're not born a writer. Now, you might be born with an inclination to be a storyteller. I mean,
And you might have some naturally good tendencies with that.
You might have some charismatic personality traits that make you a very good storyteller.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. But that is not what makes you a successful author. That alone will not carry you. You're the equivalent of the guy who eats 18 candy bars a day.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have some natural gifted storytelling abilities, but if you are eating 18 candy bars a day instead of working, you're going to be a flash in the pan. You might write a book or two, and then you're not going to have a career.
Yep.
You got to be the Green Beret. You got to be the dude who applies himself, who keeps learning, who keeps growing, who keeps testing himself, who keeps applying himself, who will reach those peaks of performance and do the amazing things. But it's not because they're genetically gifted. I mean, some of these guys are freaks in there. Some of these guys are beasts. But most of them are normal dudes. Most of us writers, we're normal dudes.
Yeah.
We don't have like this God-given talent that a lot of people think, oh, I could never be a writer. I could never be an artist. You know, those writers and artists, they weren't born painting. They weren't born sculpting. They learned techniques. And they added up on those techniques over years.
I mean, it's not an all or nothing kind of game, right? It's learned behavior. And so if you decide, just like anything, if I decide I want to be really good at archery, you know, like my son is right now.
Yeah, your son is putting in the work.
He's putting in the work. And he's constantly like learning. He's constantly adjusting. He's constantly taking feedback from coaches and learning how to internalize it and use it. And he's willing to do that. Okay. Beta readers, right? Alpha readers, beta, whatever the frick you want to call them.
We've had a whole episode on
whole
that
episode,
too.
Right? In a lot of cases, they can serve a really good purpose for you. And if they point out something, always look at it and say, is this actually valuable feedback?
Yeah, consider it, but they might be wrong.
It's very well, they could be wrong.
They're often wrong.
But if it's something like, hey, I don't understand this, or hey, you use the same word 4 times in this sentence, that's not anything to be upset about. That's you to go. Instead, your mentality should be, whew, glad someone caught that, dodged a bullet.
Yeah, glad you caught that before I turned it in. You know,
like Adam Sandler and Billy Madison. Whew, glad I called that guy. You know,
yeah.
And Steve Buscemi comes in with lipstick on, right? Like, glad I called that guy.
He had Steve Buscemi's like to-do list of people to murder. Oh my gosh, that was great.
So, look, you guys, it's okay. It's okay. You are going to have so many things. And just when you get these things squared away, something else is going to pop up. Okay. When you and I were working together as accountants for a DoD contractor, we had a third-party CPA firm come in every year.
Yep.
The first couple of years they came in, it was like bigger issues that they were pointing out.
Yeah.
We cleaned those up. Next year they came in, they're like, okay, hey, cool. You clean those up. Good job. Here's these other issues now. That we clean those up. A decade goes by, 15 years, whatever goes by of us dealing with these same CPAs. It's not like they stopped pointing out problems. They just said, oh, okay.
No, you guys were really good.
Yeah. They said, okay, look, you guys are obviously progressed now. You know all that other bigger stuff. Now we're going to focus on these smaller things that are more detail oriented.
Yep.
And my attitude and your attitude with those things was, cool, bring it.
Yeah. That's the proper attitude for everything in life.
Bring it.
One of the saddest things to me in writing is to see a writer who stagnates and never progresses.
Yeah.
That one actually bums me out. I mean, literally, I see dudes who just fall off. It actually makes me sad. I mean, because to me, it's like those big things to concentrate on are story, plot, character, fun. Mm-hmm. That's the big stuff. this other stuff, like using multiple word choice, passive voice, those are
Dude.
smaller things.
Those are small things that are going to get fixed in post.
Well, and you're going to get better as you go. The one that makes me sad though is a guy who never progresses, who just stops.
Well, or lets the negativity, the easy negativity that's out there, whether imposed on you by someone else or imposed on you by yourself,
Yeah.
lets that control you.
Yeah. Well, we're almost out of time, but one of the last things when he said in there is like, or do I need to hang it up, or do I need to get a thicker skin?
A little bit of that is a thicker skin.
Thicker skin, we've talked about this on the show, is I have rhino hide, okay?
Yeah.
Which is funny, I've said that a lot on the show, but there's somebody who actually knows zoology comments in the Facebook group, is like, well, it's like they named it, right? Actually, rhino's skin is very sensitive. And I'm like, well, that just ruins my analogy that I have used all these years. I just kind of assumed rhinos had thick skin. I mean, I don't...
It makes sense. I don't know why.
I don't know. Whatever. Pick a mammal with really tough skin.
Yeah.
Run with it. I don't know. Maybe it's like whatever.
It's probably some ridiculous thing like an ostrich or something dumb.
Yeah. Whatever animal I pick, Stilgard be like, oh, that is wise.
Yeah.
Muad'Dib makes his own water. Okay, so whatever. You guys get what I'm saying. Yeah, so get a thicker skin in that you are gonna get hit.
Yeah.
Life's gonna hit you.
Well, and when you're receiving feedback, more often than not, like if someone says, hey, notice you have, like, again, I'll go back to the same issue. You have you're using that same word 3 times within that page. Well, you shouldn't go, oh crap, I can't believe I missed that. It's, oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
There are times where people are going to bag on you, and some people are just going to hate you. Now, if they're just going to hate you, it has really nothing to do with you. Just some people get off on hating stuff.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Write that off. Who cares? They don't like the 1-star reviews are honestly like the most useless things in the world.
Right.
They always tell you more. And we talk about reviews on the show, but they tell you more about the reviewer than they do the product almost every time.
Yeah, they do.
The reviews that get me are the ones that are like really positive reviews, but then they'll have like a nitnoid. And I'll be like, oh, wow, I love this. This guy loves my stuff. And they're like, but Larry does this and this. And I'm like, oh, I guess I do, huh? And so those are the ones that like have the tough hide and be like, does that actually matter? And then if it does matter to you, as you go forward, pay attention to that. That's like when I'm telling you when you're shooting, put your thumb here, do this with your finger, don't do that, put your head up. But it's one of those little things. This is like, quit turtling your neck. Okay, that's the equivalent. Quit turtling. Get those shoulders relaxed. Okay, so take that, and then in your next project, apply that. Mm-hmm. And this time, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna focus on that. And that's gonna be the thing that I'm gonna repair in this book to make it better than the last book.
Oh yeah, I mean, really early on, with writing, you and I had the discussion. I mean, this was years and years and years ago at this point. We had the discussion about the dialogue tags.
Oh yeah, dialogue tags.
And you learned this because of audio.
And the thing is, some authors just don't even care. There are some great authors out there who end every single line of dialogue with he said, or Bob said, she said, just
said Sally.
And they just don't care because that's their style.
And see, I remember after one of our earlier conversations on this.
To me, it kills me.
Oh yeah, well now it does.
It slays me.
So
man.
now I'm actively looking at my dialogue and I'm going, how can I make this crystal clear without the dialogue tags?
Yeah.
And that's hard. It takes work.
And it's made it so you have more distinct character voice.
Correct.
Because there's a certain famous author.
Unintended consequences, right?
There's a certain famous author I won't name, but I can't stand his stuff because whenever I read it, every single character has the exact same voice. Like he has to have dialogue tags, or you would never be able to get through a single scene with more than 2 people talking without being totally confused because everybody sounds the same.
Yeah, they all have the same verbiage, sense of humor, et cetera, et cetera.
This dude's successful. He's a successful writer. He sells more books than I do, but I look at that, probably pretty close. But I look at that and I'm like, oh, I hate that. Like me personally, it gets my goat. Mm-hmm. But he's also successful. And I'm not going to say that he should hang it up as a writer or he's not a real writer. I just don't think he's good at characters. I think I'm better at characters. And so it's one of those things that to me, that's an issue, to him it's not. You know?
Well, and he might, he might look at something that you do and say, "Oh my gosh, another action scene.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe this."
I
Yada,
actually
yada,
have
yada.
people offended that like I actually had a review for Son of the Black Sword the other day, which I loved, and it was, this guy has a big YouTube following of epic fantasy reviews, and it was something effective. He's like, I love epic fantasy, but a lot of epic fantasy, I feel like the author wastes my time. But Son of the Black Sword's plotted more like a thriller. It just goes immediately from thing to thing to thing to thing. I never stopped to talk about like every dish on the banquet or what the dress, like every woman's dressed like. I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to that
You know,
character.
I just don't care. Like I would never write that because I don't care. I would never fake that. You know, to me that's just fluff. It's fat. I cut the fatty bits off the steak and eat the steak.
Unless it's Wagyu, then we just eat it all.
Oh, dude, and then it's just butter.
Yeah.
It's just meat butter.
Magical cow butter.
So good. If you haven't tried it,
It's freaking amazing.
If you haven't tried Kobe beef, it is
Oh.
phenomenal. Thank you, Mike Rothman, for
Yep.
taking
Thank you, Mike Rothman.
for taking this out to dinner. But so I don't know. Pep talk. Some stuff matters. Some stuff doesn't. Some stuff matters to different people. Doesn't matter always. Sometimes it does. But you all are gonna learn, and you give yourself permission to suck. Give yourself permission to fail, and just keep going. Keep learning. Don't ever get stagnant.
Yeah, and so here's our last little bit for you. Yes, it's normal to have all these blind spots. No, you're not fooling yourself about this writing thing. You got this. It's all good. Just keep writing. The only way you're not going to have this is if you stop. This is the Writer Dojo. We'll see you on the next one.
Writer Dojo is Steve Diamond and Larry Correa. Produced by Jack Wilder and Bear and Hare Studios. Theme song, Word Mercenaries by Craig Nivo. New episodes come out every Wednesday wherever you stream your content. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can help support us by going to anchor.fm/WriterDojo, by leaving a 5-star rating and review, and by helping to spread the word. To advertise on the Writer Dojo, email ads@writerdojo.com. All questions and comments can be emailed to questions@writerdojo.com.
And just keep going. Keep learning. Don't ever get stagnant.
Yeah.